We are very confident in our case. We know we're right. We know that Mayor Cantrell is wrong. That's enough for us.
Two city library workers are suing the city of New Orleans, claiming a new policy violates their First Amendment right to free speech. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Swenson.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. So the library workers are targeting the city. They're targeting Mayor Cantrell and her top deputy with a lawsuit filed today.
They're afraid a policy will block them from criticizing the city, even in private conversations. And they reached out to investigative reporter David Hammer because he was there when they first spoke out against city policies at the start of the pandemic.
New Orleans public libraries stayed open at the start of the pandemic, even as the state shut down schools and other public places in March 2020. At the time, library workers said they felt endangered, and a few days later, Mayor LaToya Cantrell's administration relented.
The only reason that the library shut down in the first place and the only movement forward has been completely due to the voices of employees within the system begging for us to be treated with the respect we deserve.
This library employee spoke out anonymously then, but something else has happened, and now they're speaking out publicly against a city policy implemented last summer that limits what city workers can say online, even in their private time, in private messages.
Once you start to lose things like your freedom of speech, I am terrified, even more so than I am for myself, of other civil rights slowly starting to be eroded.
Erin Wilson joined with another library worker, Andrew Okun, to file a federal lawsuit Thursday against the city, Mayor Cantrell, and Chief Administrative Officer Gilbert Montano.
To file this lawsuit, it does feel like we're putting ourselves at risk. It feels like it's worth it because this is unconstitutional, because it's an egregious overreach, because it shows such a lack of care or concern for the rights of city workers.
The lawsuit challenges the constitutionality of Policy Memo 83R, issued by Montano on June 17, 2020. It sets new rules not just for library employees, but for all city employees, from city hall staff to parking enforcement to police officers. It limits what they can say on social media, including private messaging channels like Slack and Discord. The policy starts by saying, avoid the offensive, and specifically mentions TikTok, where Wilson is a prolific poster.
I'm a transgender person. My very existence could be considered offensive depending on who's reviewing myself, my personhood, or anything that I say.
The policy also says, do not engage or respond to negative or disparaging posts about city departments, employees, or policies.
If I were to send Erin a message via Slack, for example, a private message criticizing, say, like a leak in a library building or the Hard Rock collapse, something of that nature, that could technically be in violation of this memo.
Wilson and Okun are represented by Tulane law professor Katie Schwartzman. She has a lot of experience with free speech cases as legal director for the ACLU of Louisiana and says this one stands out.
I've not seen an employee code of conduct or a municipal policy governing employees that goes this far in regulating private activity of all city workers.
For Wilson, the fear is not just theoretical. Their Channel 4 interview criticizing the library system's pandemic response was depicted as a First Amendment issue in a national online comic book called The Nib.
What I did, I feel proud of myself for doing, and I don't want there to be a world where a civil servant cannot raise their hand and raise a red flag to crisis.
A city spokesperson sent us a statement defending the policy, saying, quote, the city respects the rights of city employees to use social media as a medium of self-expression. David Hammer, Eyewitness News.